Hello, and welcome to Smiley's. Tonight, we'll be talking about Blood and Bone, the fifth book in the novels of the Malazan Empire. I am joined by Mora. Hello, Mora.
Hi Lee, how are you doing?
I'm quite good, actually. How about you? How are we doing? How do you find the book?
I like this book much better than Orbs Up to Throne, because I like my Crimson Guard guys, and yeah, the all the Eastern influences. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part so far. So the spoiler scope for this is going to be up to chapter 7.
Probably the entire Book of the Fallen and chapter 7 of Book Blood and Bone, yes.
Yeah, right. So how are you finding your reread?
Oh boy. There have been a couple mentions of Blood and Bone on the sub lately, which is like almost universal, and I don't get this book. And I kind of breezed through the book the first time around. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's like, well, I wouldn't say fun in a traditional sense, since it's actually pretty oppressive. It's very atmospherical. And there's also a lot of details that you missed on a first read. Well, I missed on a first read because I'm just, I wasn't very perceptive. About like the thaumaturgs, about the Crimson Guard especially, littered throughout the book. And it's definitely more enjoyable to actually know what's going on and have formulated some sort of opinion about the book beforehand that I can now re-examine rather than going in, okay, what the fuck is Jakaruku? Why am I here? So, well. The other thing is I'm not from any, since the book is majorly, as you mentioned, like has a lot of Eastern influences, I'm not from anything close to that, so it's like a bit alien to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't connect with me as much in the sense that I can't connect with it in the same way. But it does make for a very interesting setting, which we will talk about later because it's a long story to talk about.
What?
So
We're going to talk later about the Asian influences. What do you want to talk about now?
exactly. I mean, like Himatan and Jakaruku as a whole, as a setting.
Okay. So Himatan is
Wouldn't yeah.
not completely in the physical realm. It's like half Warren, half reality, is what
Yeah,
all the
I
people are
guess.
saying. Yeah. And
What? Didn't catch that?
sorry. I said Himatan is actually like half in the real world and half like in the spiritual world or something. It's
Mm-hmm.
not purely a physical place. That's the feeling I have. Some of them say
Right.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What? Uh,
So, Himatan, you might remember from Memories of Ice when the Demon King Kelpor destroyed his country. And a certain
the Demon
individual, a
King.
certain elder god, the Demon King, a
Yeah.
certain individual put the destroyed nation into a separate warren, which later
Yeah.
went on to become the Imperial Warren.
Imperial War. Yeah.
And something had to rise up to encompass the region that was like put in the warren. That area, I believe, is Himatan.
Mm-hmm.
Since Ardata is mentioned in Memories of Ice, so like she is there, she's a force in Dragarugu even before Calor or Calvor or whatever destroyed this nation, which we're not going to touch upon that now. But even like before the fall, Ardata was there. It's just now it seems like her Demesnes, as they put it, grew to encompass like half of Jagarugu or so. And so, on account of Ardata not entirely being, well, she's like mentioned as like a demon queen or, a witch or the queen of witches, generally not entirely of this realm, as you put it. I think it's fair to assume that Himatan as a whole isn't entirely of this realm either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. So, did you notice the map? It looks like Sri Lanka. I told you
Yep,
the whole Jakuruku map.
yep.
Yeah.
Might be on purpose.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about first?
Your impressions, first and foremost.
I like it.
Characters,
I am
people,
loving it.
settings.
I like the whole. You know what? Before we started, I knew that people call this a slog because apparently people trek through jungle. This is a feeling I had before I started. And yeah, there are multiple people trekking the jungle from multiple points. But it's still fun. I'm liking it because I've not read many jungle setting stories, and I've not read this type of that unrelenting humidity and rain and their leather armor being getting rotten and stuff like that. That's very interesting. And there's a scene where I think Sar, he removes his belt and throws it down, and I know, and Mark knows that it's just a symbolic gesture because his sword is anyway rusted to, and it's not going to be of any use. So that
Yeah.
type of setting, that unrelenting thing, that I like, I really like. I just have one doubt though, like all these various groups which are roaming around the jungle, are they all simultaneous? or are there different points in time? Because nobody has met up with anybody, nobody has any hint of the other person doing something. So this
So
Golan's, yeah, yeah,
Golan and the like are to set out to find Drakal Vihorn through a predetermined route that has been established through like some journal from some guy that returned from an exploration, like 300 soldiers, and he barely came back alive. Um, our, the Crimson Guard is going up a river.
yeah,
What river isn't entirely clear. Uh, Sang and the others are and Tanu are somewhere within Himaton, near the mountain range.
yeah.
Golan, I already mentioned Golan. Who else is there?
The other guy,
Sour Americans. Oh, they're near the Dolmens, which is in the north of Dracorugu. I think the guard came up from like the south,
and your
the
favorite, your
southeast.
Adwami people.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
well, these guys are on the other side of Himaton. So like, there's the tribes of the Dwami on one side, west, the mountain side, the mountain range rather, that separates the two parts, and then to the east of that is Himaton. So yeah, the Adwami are not actually in Himaton right now.
yeah, I'm just asking if this is all happening like simultaneously.
It is, yes, it is. It just Himaton is really big, so
Okay. Sometimes I like writing like that, which, we think that it's all happening real time. And then one plotline has like finished 100 years ago or something. Right.
hmm.
So is the name of that river important?
I don't even think it has a name.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
All right. So
right. Yeah,
can we just finish talking about the Crimson Guard? Because
sure.
we just finished chapter 7 today.
You
Yeah.
you realize I'm not going to say anything, right? I'm just going to nod along sagely and say yes, yes. So please, the floor is all yours.
So yeah, the Crimson Guard. Yeah. So one, we're seeing some changes. The all these people are undergoing some changes. Shimmer is actually like losing time. She's somewhat, straying in her dreams, and she might get lost sometime in her dreams. Stoop has become more solid, and Smokey is able to like throw flames and help them. So the brethren are turning solid, and this side Kaz is turning old and sort of like a brethren. So and and yeah, Skinner has joined with the other guys, but there is some difference between the way Skinner's group is acting and the way Shimmer's group is acting. Did you notice? Okay, you're not going to answer me, right? So Shimmer and Kaz and all.
Elaborate, please.
Yeah, what is it?
Elaborate, if you would.
Elaborate. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah. So Shimmer and Kaz are like sort of going into their dream world. They're not completely oriented to what's happening around them, and you know they're not fixed in time. They seem to be all of them seem to be going into their some oblivion and returning and things like that. They're not being fine. Whereas Skinner, Mara, Black, and I don't know someone else. All these guys are completely oriented. They are behaving exactly like all the other people with them. So there is some change there, and I'm not sure what is the cause of that. Maybe because these guys are in Himatan and those guys are I don't know, they're not so close to Himatan. Maybe I'm not sure, but there is some clear difference between these two groups, right? So I'm
Hmm.
not sure what to make of it. So I have a whole bunch of theories about what the Crimson Guard are and what the A word have become. So for a long time, my theory was they're like one of the automatons, the one of the unfortunates who have undergone something similar to the thaumaturg surgeries and magics and stuff like that, and they've become undying because of that. So unkillable and undying rather. But after reading chapter 7, I think they have become, they've taken part in the Telan ritual. Okay, I'm sounding more and more silly now because you're not going to respond anything. Yeah, so they have undergone some sort of a vow and some sort of a ritual. And I don't know, this was somewhat noticeable even in Return of the Crimson Guard, isn't it? That there are some similarities between them and the Telanimas. How they've all, given up their actual, just plain living for the sake of for the sake of some revenge or something. So after chapter 7, that's what I think. And you guys have all pointed out that the woman who's watching them is someone important. So because I'm going with the Tilan ritual theory, I'm going to call that woman as either Kilava or Ola Retil. Again, I don't expect any response from you. So I think we can just stop this topic and move on, shall we?
Right.
You have nothing to say?
You mentioned Skinner and the others, and I think the main reason is that Shimmer, Kaz, Cole, Lama, Turd, whatever the Avowed with Kaz anyway, are on a ship that's commandeered by Adada, and
Yeah.
they're entering her domestic, and so obviously Ardada's influence extends over them much more than it would over Skinner.
Yeah.
Skinner is also like the only person that has ever, well, the only person that we know of, pretty much, that has been able to court Ardada, and like Rutana and Nagal are very pissed about that.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it seems that Ardada, for some reason or the other, doesn't extend the same influence that she does to Kaz to Skinner. So she has, like all the time we see the Avowed like losing time or be entering dream stage or just sitting at railings and looking at like blank stuff and like, oh yeah, well, what the fuck's going on here? And I think it's Stoop that mentions that Ardada could like take the brethren away or something.
Yeah. They're all
Skinner
frightened of her data. Yeah.
Skinner has no such issues because, well, he's not. First of all, because of the presence of the priest of the crippled god is
Yeah.
one thing, and the other thing is obviously like Ardata doesn't pay him as much mind for some reason because I don't know. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're not as affected by you know.
Hmm.
So that's all I'm gonna have to say really about the Crimson Guard at this point in time. One thing I want to highlight is the difference between Kaz and Skinner in terms of leadership. I think one of the main themes in Blood and Bone is leadership and our perception of leaders. You have the war leader,
Yeah.
you have Skinner, you have Kaz, you have Jatal, you have Andani, leaders of other peoples and stuff. So with the contrast between not rulers, leaders more specifically, and very specifically about Kaz and Skinner, I think is very pronounced because we see both of them, right, through perspectives from women avowed that harbor some semblance of either romantic attraction or just sentimental feelings about each other. Like Mara clearly has some attraction for Skinner, and Shimmer used to, at least as far as Chapter 7 is concerned, used to have some romantic attraction for Kaz that is now clearly lost because Kaz looks like a skeleton with very pronounced like orbital ridges and like taut parchment-like skin.
Exactly like a
He looks like
Telanomas. Yeah. Yeah. Go on.
Tlanomas are more squat though because they're Neanderthals, no?
Yeah, but I mean, they took the ritual when they were Neanderthals. These are human beings who have taken the same ritual. So they just have the rotting skin and the bony look and all that, you know. Obviously, their features are not going to change.
Right. Anyway, what I was talking about is this contrast between leaders and how that perception changes throughout the book because Kaz hasn't really done much, right?
Poor fellow, he was chained at the dolmens for what? For so long.
I mean, in this book,
Oh, okay.
like Shimmer is searching for him at the start because he's not in Fortress Haven, which is their base in Stratum. He randomly appears sometime because Ratana comes along and says, "I have a message for your commander." Well, you're gonna have to wait. We don't know where he is either. Well, he'll come to me and shit. And he's not really bothered to explain where they're going and why they're going there. It's all very vague. Whereas Skinner, everyone pretty much knows why they're going where they're going because they need to gather pieces of the crippled god to empower the crippled god to in turn empower Skinner because Skinner's like Ego House of Chains. So
Yeah.
it's all very straightforward. And even if they don't like the plan, like Mara very specifically says that she doesn't give a shit about the pieces, she still follows because Skinner is actually a very competent leader, which is actually one of the reasons Ro likes him.
Oh, Ro like Skinner?
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
because he's ruthless and competent, which he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Kaz is just like a depressed, old, tired man. Like,
Talking philosophy.
yeah. So that's one thing about the Avowed that I can tell you, and I can talk about without spoilers. Afraid that I cannot think of anything else.
Okay, no problem. We'll have a lot more to talk about when we finish this book
Yeah, I think so
or
too.
after
But
finishing the next one.
oh yeah, then for sure. But for the most part, the Avowed in this book, at least the Avowed, not the Disavowed, don't spend much time, at least so far. In Chapter 7, they've basically just been on the boat, on the river, all book, and they've just, they've been thinking, they've been talking, they've been trying to work through the changes that have come upon them, and it's difficult to say again without spoilers because there's not much to talk about here without spoiling anything.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We have plenty other stuff to talk about. Yeah.
No.
Can we talk about the chaining at the dolmens? Because
Sure.
it was all just some vague idea in my head. How did this chaining happen, and how was the cripple gods, pieces chained and all that? It's literal chaining between stones. Like his flesh is like suspended above the abyss or something. And there are multiple chains from different people, isn't it? Like some chain was done by, I think, Shadow, something by Queen of Dreams. I don't remember the exact details now, but all the people who took part in the chaining, all of them had they had a hand, isn't it? All of them added their set of chains, isn't it? Right?
So to provide an example, so you know how Dedrim in the prologue of the Bone Hunters has the thing where like 12 nameless ones invoke different warrens to release
Yeah,
them?
yeah,
I think it's a similar thing here,
yeah,
where different mages of different like warrens have come together to train. So, um, I think since it's the crippled god, it's vastly more likely that the members of the training were like ascendants rather than just like random mages, like in the case of Dedrim, for instance. So and since it was unlocked, I guess, by a combination of Thir and Mokra, I think it was.
yeah.
I think Triss was definitely involved in some degree.
Yeah, that's why she's going west in a submarine now. I mean, she has a submarine. Why is she going on the surface? Like, she can go underwater, isn't it?
She has a what?
Submarine? Is that a ship? Because it is
I
completely
don't
covered.
think she had. I think it's a ship. I don't think it's a submarine.
The description made it sound like it's a submarine.
I think it comes out from like she conjures it up from like the water and like
Yeah, it comes out of the water, and there are like portholes on all sides, and something like the deck is completely covered or something. I took it to
I don't
be a
know.
submarine, but I was surprised why she's standing on
Maybe.
the top. But she has your, another Segule who's uh,
Yeah.
indentured Segule.
Ina.
Ina, yeah. Ina, Eco. There are nice names in this book. I'm liking all the names
Yeah.
here.
So
So Eco
one
goes
thing
to
I noticed
learn.
is that yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Go on.
No, I was just
Go
saying
on.
that
Go on.
Eco goes to learn dance of the whip sword.
Mhm.
So there are multiple types of dances, isn't it? Like the shadow dancing and now this. So that's what I wanted to say. Go on.
Well, I think we'll see Ko again in PDA. So
Really?
yes,
Oh, oh, okay.
she
Yeah.
appears at least in Esslemont that I know of,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we're reading that
and
next.
she remarks that she's the last of the Khan King's bodyguards,
Yeah, she does mention
and that
that here. Yeah.
she doesn't know how she escaped the Malazan encirclement. Like there was a siege going on in Khan, and like she somehow escaped. She doesn't remember how
Okay.
because ostensibly it was like 100 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I think the implication of Eco's training is that it was very harsh. Like she mentioned it, like if her childhood was like you know odd and a bit but happy, this was not happy at all. It was like 10 times as harsh, more difficult. It was just a hard time. It was miserable, and she didn't feel like she belonged.
Hmm.
Which yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so we're done talking about the Crimson Guard. Or what do we do next? Because
There's a dozen different storylines we can look about.
yeah,
You brought up Triss.
Triss. Yeah, Triss and
Do
Ina.
you have any idea of what they're doing? Because it's like Shadowthrone showed up to warn her.
Oh, that wasn't that a fun scene? You've been warned.
And
I
stuff.
just
So
throw those out to confuse people, isn't it?
yeah,
No, I have no idea why she's going west. I assume that she's going to Kolans, whatever, because I think this is just before the Cripple God book, and that's why everyone is converging west. That's what I was thinking. No, there's some other reason she's going west.
I don't remember. I think there's mention of like, well, everyone talks in extremely vague ways because
No, she and Ardata are rivals, so she's going there to
yes,
confront her. That's all. We'll find out. The next 7 chapters, we'll find out. Next 8 chapters.
yeah.
Next
Anyway, she
is.
does say that she's going to Dracoruku. By the way, she tells Ina that she goes to Dracoruku.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah. That would be Karkana spoilers, isn't it? To talk about her coming out of that pool.
um,
Yeah, we're not doing Karkana spoilers, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah,
It's like the most vague spoiler ever, but yes.
yeah, yeah. What's next?
Whatever you like. Okay, we have like what we have Cirque and Merc and Sour. We have Celesti. We have Zetal and Dani and the War Leader. We have
Just pick
Scarzo. We have
one. Just pick one and tell me. We'll just
I
talk
don't
about
know.
that. Yeah.
What did you want to talk about? Is what am I gonna ask? Like because saying I think is like the more heavy topic that we can talk about later.
What heavy topic are you keeping for later?
Saying I think is a saying and pawn lore. I think are the two that are
Sure. Then we might as well finish the. Okay, I can't tell this guy's name. Ponlur,
yes.
because. Oh, that was a fun thing. Like he was led by this Jack. So this guy, this bandit king Jack, so right, when Golan and the rest are marching through the forest, they see that one automaton has escaped. One of the uh, what do you call
Yakshaka.
it? Yaksha what?
Yakshaka.
Yakshakas. Yeah, one of the Yakshakas has. They have. Okay, can we just finish Golan, please? Because that is so much funnier.
Sure.
So these guys are extremely red tape bound people. They have to have their paperwork every day, and there is redundancy in their filing their paperwork. They have a principal scribe who's called Thorn,
Yeah. Phone. Yeah.
and every day he has to report to his superiors, tell them like the day's dealings and all that, and he just lies through his teeth, isn't it? He's so much fun. He just says everything is on schedule, and then he knows he's like at least a month behind whatever they're supposed to do. So they're going fine. They're having fun, and what happens is I think they meet this. They find out that one of the automaton is with a witch, which is basically Hanu and Singh, who have gone off somewhere into the forest, and so he sends his second Ponlur. Am I
Uh,
doing saying something wrong?
Slight correction.
Yeah.
Ponlor is a cohort commander. He's like, say, a high level cadre mage, not his second. His second's a different guy.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so right. So he's not right. Okay, fine. He's almost a colleague for him, but he's somewhat at a lower level. He's able to command him because Golan is like the top boss. So he sends Ponlur with his other guy, Toon. Toon, isn't it? Or something. Yeah, they're both sent in pursuit of this guy, and they use the bandit king Jack. Jack, like Kyle. There's a Jack here, right? Nobody objected to this Jack because he was spelled in a different way. So right,
Well, his name is Kenjack, Kenjack Ashfordjack or something. But
doesn't
yes,
Kyle have a different
there's
name? You said something.
yes, but yeah, it's Calteral 10 or whatever. All of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So anyway, so Jack comes by, and Jack leads them to this keep, Chanar Keep, which is full of some sort of zombies who have been, like animated dead bodies or something. So he takes him there, and Ponlur is
No,
like, yeah, sorry.
uh, carry on. I'll talk about it later.
So he takes them there, thinking it's a trap for them. But then obviously Ponlur says that this curse is our doing. We did this, so I can
Yeah.
cancel the magic anytime I want. And then he cancels it, and he's shot with a crossbow or something, and then he just pulls it out and feels no pain. And yeah, it's very metal. It's very nice to read that. So Ponlur is like a badass, but he has only one person remaining with him at the end of chapter 7. He and Toru are going. He has some visions of human sacrifices, and it's really stupid because these guys have been experimenting on live humans, putting them in acid baths and doing lobotomies and stuff like that. And then he sees this man, to save people from the plague. He is like sacrificing a small child, and he thinks, oh, what atrocities these fellows are conducting in this, about the local people. So it's all very weird. I don't know where this is going, but so that is Ponlur. And then what does he do? He's still pursuing Hanu and Singh, and he's again captured by Jack and his friends. There is a cleft lip woman with them. I don't remember who that is. So they're all heading
Mind.
towards Hanu and Singh. So that's Ponlur. And they said, I think Golan has lost his books. He's lost all his record keepings. It is all melted in the rain now. And Skinner and etc. are, they're pursuing the pieces of the cripple god. So they don't have a word support right now. Golan's camp. And they keep losing troops like every now and then. Everyone turns back and there's a troop missing. Or someone goes on a march nearby and then nobody comes back and stuff like that. It's all
Right.
fun. Yeah, go on. What are the corrections?
So, okay, excuse you, but what I wanted to say is that the Curse of Chandra Keep isn't animation of the dead. They turned them into stone. Well, yeah, basically turned them to stone, and then Ponlor dissolved the incantation, which just dissolved the stone into like nothingness. The other thing is Jack mentions Ponlor as like this rich, pampered guy whose parents bought him his rank, and Ponlor's like, no, I don't even remember my parents because I was like taken as a really young kid. And that's one thing. The other thing is Ponlor's acceptance ceremony, I guess,
Hmm.
into the thaumaturgs, which is like he he is placed in a room with a bunch of like old dudes,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like a series of objects are right before him, and it's like, what do I pick? And like he starts to reach for things, and depending on the reaction of the automatons around him, he touches a different thing, and then he questions this for a little bit, like, could the circle be like this stupid? Like, do they not know that they're giving it away? It's like, no, no, no. It has to. They have to have been briefed beforehand, and that has to be part of the challenge, part of the test. But then what of the what of the noble children that were never like actually displayed any sort of skill? Whatever, it's part of the training. It's like Tonlor is young.
Yeah.
That's one thing. There's mention of okay. Should we put like a content warning here because there's mention of like some weird shit happening?
Yeah, I mean, they are being abused, isn't it? The kids by those
There is a
teachers.
throwaway line about teachers be coming in the middle of the night for special
It's
attention.
it's hardly a throwaway. Yeah, it's a huge thing. Yeah.
It's and to say that like, oh, it's super weird because they're dissecting bodies. Well, yeah, they're dissecting bodies in their laboratories in a controlled environment.
It's not.
Now,
Oh, don't get me started on those dissections and stuff. No.
now it's like they're victims because that's what they are. Their victims are usually sedated and whatnot. Even if they're vaguely aware to the observer, to the student, it just seems like we're doing this in the name of science, because for the pursuit of higher knowledge or whatever you like. And here you have people driven into desperation, forced to kill one of their own in a ritualistic way to have a harvest so they do not starve. So Tonlor experiences a lot of cognitive dissonance at that point, I think, because he isn't what Jack thinks. He's not like this pampered, rich, noble guy who, you know, his parents bought him his rank and he doesn't actually know shit and all that. He's a genuinely skilled thaumaturg. Like he is very capable. We see him because he like constricts the blood vessels and he like
Can
almost
I just
forgets that
add?
like
Can I just add that Kalam
yes,
did
go
more
on.
or less the same thing in Bone Hunters?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, yeah, go
virtually
on.
the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's mental exercises that are meant to like isolate blood flow and stuff. Which okay, I'm not sure is that real. You're the doctor
It's
here, not
not,
me.
it's not. Smooth muscles don't have conscious control, no.
But yeah. So whatever is going on with Von Lore, he's clearly experiencing quite a bit of cognitive dissonance. Is what I'm getting at. And so it is weird on one hand because okay, they've done all these experiments with like the acid baths and like the bodies and the dissections and all that stuff, which we will not talk about because it's one of those scenes that we don't talk about. But to view such things in the wild, quote unquote wild, is certain to cause some trouble in Ponlor. And it's a matter of time, I think, before that reaches a breaking point. Like, okay, at which point does the training, read brainwashing, stop? Stop affecting him to such a degree and he views the truth for what it is? I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, on one hand, it's weird because if you put Golan in a similar situation, he wouldn't bat an eye, right? If the Golan was like, oh, yeah, cool, they're sacrificing shit, cool, happens, But
Yeah.
Bonlor, he is clearly shook, so, yeah. But since you brought up Golan and Thorn,
Yeah.
Golan's, what's his face? Golan's meetings with the Masters, Circle of Masters,
Yeah.
is like great. Like, yeah, it's all going great, it's fine. Yeah, well, but it seems you're experiencing some like where there's screams and stuff in the background. Like, yeah, well, Masters, everyone knew this was going to be difficult. It's like we're working through the difficulties.
No, it's like anytime if you have to like report to your boss about things happening at the bottom level, this is how you handle it. You just say yes, yes, everything is under control, and there are little fires all around you. So I don't know. It is very relatable, Golan. Yeah. Is there anything more that I missed about Golan? No. It's fine. He's just going to find Ardata's center of power. That's his whole
Yeah,
motivation.
yes. I don't think there's anything to miss there about Golans. Like, it is this sort of there's more actually. We'll talk about this later.
Later, as in next episode or here?
Yeah, next episode. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Right. Do you want to talk about your favorite Lord of Hate?
Oh boy. You call him my favorite. I actually don't really like Gothos
Oh God.
as a person.
Why?
I think he's exquisitely written, but he's an asshole. Like,
I mean, people can be
I
assholes and you can
in
still
this
like them.
book,
Do you know that?
in this book, he's an asshole on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, he says that I'm
But
I'm here to be a prick. So
he, yeah, he's
what
here to be
more
a prick. Okay,
self-awareness do you want?
He is an excellent prick, that he is, but he's also such an annoying prick, literally and figuratively. That I just can't stand him. I'm sorry. I cannot stand Gothos. Not in this book, not in All the Hounds. Like in Dead House Gates, he's fine because he just barely appears. Like, yeah, well, you guys failed in imprisoning Ikari. Well, who the fuck are you? I'm his dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why didn't you do it? Well, I couldn't.
I mean,
Anyway, there's a ladle with healing water, like the bucket. Okay, in Dead House Gates, he's fine.
you know
In All the
what?
Hounds, when he dissembles and throws like Namander to Warren, he's a bit of a dipshit. In this book, he's literally tasked with being a prick to Osirk, which, if you don't like Osirk, must be hilarious.
Are you an Osirk fan?
I don't mind. I think he gets a lot of shit from Erickson.
Oh my God, you're. You know what? I'm not a
think-
Lee fan today. Sorry.
I
You
think
hate
he gets a
Gothos. You
lot of
hate
shit.
Tavor. I don't know what to do.
What the fuck? I didn't say hate is a very strong word. Hate
Fine,
is a word
fine.
that Gothos would
Strongly
use to describe
dislike
his feelings.
Gothos. Strongly dislike Tavor.
I didn't
Strongly
say
dislike
any
all
of those
well-written
things.
characters.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, all right. Listen here.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I
Yeah.
am being paraphrased. I am being personally attacked.
Slander.
Slander, lies, and slander.
I
Yeah.
don't know how many of this I can keep. Go on, please, with your hatred
So
of Gothos.
you may notice.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
hate
it's
the
just
Lord of
goddamn
Hate,
it,
what
hey.
does that make you?
All right, tell me about Gothos. Go on. Please talk to me about Gothos. What do
Gothos
you
is
find
fun.
enjoyable about
Gothos is so
Gothos?
annoying, so irritable. He's the way I behave with my sister most of the time. So I like Gothos. And I like Osir getting annoyed with him and with Shadow Throne, which, he probably deserves it. I mean, Osir doesn't know why he's there. It's sort of, sort of sad to, because he's trying not to think about why he's there, but, he doesn't have a choice. He has to figure out why he's ended up in the Azat. So it's fun to watch, but I'm not sure. This is just a story which is coming up in every chapter, but I'm not sure where exactly it's going. Kothos and Osirk and Shadow Throne, Cotillion and all that. So Osirk has apparently used his son to seal Trillan. I was not aware of that. When does he do that? Because Lorik has
Well,
been roaming around.
It's not like he used his son literally. It's more like he set Lorik as a guardian of Thurlan, which we see in House of
Okay.
Chains with his familiar and stuff.
Didn't he just give him a familiar and leave him?
I don't think he gave him a familiar. I think he told him guard Thurlan and goodbye, and then he fucked off to far. Like I said, I don't think Erickson likes Osirk at all, and I think
yeah.
he wrote him in a way that reflects this.
I mean, fine. Okay. Yeah. Right. So that was the thing.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go on.
So I'm happy to see Gothos anytime he comes on page. That's all.
I think he's enjoyable to read. I just think he's a prick. Well, like, if every time I use the word prick, I'm reminded that he's literally acting like a prick in this book. So yeah, of course
That's
he's a prick.
excellent writing,
But
isn't it?
I don't think he's badly written. I think he's
Yeah.
excellently written. I just
You
think
know
he's
what?
annoying as fuck.
You know what? You do not criticize the writing at all. That I've noticed.
No.
Right? You don't criticize the writing at all. You just hate characters and then you find fault
Yeah.
in them. But
I've told you before a lot of times. I think Malik Rel is an excellently written character, and I absolutely hate his guts. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's writing that gets me to feel something. I strongly, well, it's like a strong. I mildly dislike Gothos because he's the type of person that I really would hate being around. The
That's the whole
smart ass, the
point.
know-it-all.
Isn't that the whole point? I would hate to be with any of these guys. Like, do you think Cotillion, if he
Yes.
appeared in front of me, I would turn around and look back? Absolutely not. It's fun to read about
Yes.
those types of characters. That's the whole point of it. Karsa, I'm sure I wouldn't stand anyone resembling even like 10% of Karsa's personality in real life. But
Somehow doubt
it's
this.
fiction. It's fantasy. Sorry.
I doubt this. I'm
How-
sorry, Maura. I am doubting every second
You
of this.
no.
That you would not like you would turn around with Dancer. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
understand
I-
Karsta, but Dancer, no.
Oh my god, Dancer is a literal assassin, a patron of assassins. Absolutely, I don't know. I have some moral code, but it's fun to read about them in fantasy, in fiction.
Mm-hmm. What I mean is that like Gothos is the type of character that like dissembles so much. He talks so much. Like it's the same thing with Teleras and Curdle in the Bone Hunters, but without the
You
comic
don't
relief.
like them, or you don't like them either.
I do like them. They're funny, but Gothos isn't funny. Gothos is just annoying.
Gothos is a dry type of funny. You can't expect him to like give out punchlines.
His sons are better at doing dry funny. Like Race is a lot
Ikariam,
better at
tell me
being
one
dry
joke
funny
Ikariam
than.
has made. Please, I'm waiting. Yeah, go on.
Okay, Race is Gotha's son. Shut up.
Raised, I know, but I'm asking about Ikariam. You said sons, if I'm
I
right.
okay, fine. I don't know. Maybe he has a lot of sons. Maybe he has some very potent seed. I don't know. Why are you asking me these questions? We're
Why
talking
are
about a
we
circ and
talking
not
about
and Gotha.
Gotha's scene?
Because you kept bringing up like a Carrium. I don't fucking care about a Carrium. I'm talking about Race here.
You just said, it's unfair to compare. Fine, Gothos is funny, and that's what Smiley is taking a strong stand on. Gothos is funny.
Anyway, what I'm getting at is in this book especially, Gothos is meant to be annoying, both to a Circ and the reader. And in due part, I think it's because, well, is it a spoiler to say that Gothos is trying to humble Osirk into actually like asking him what the fuck do I need to do?
I think so. It's a battle of wills. That's what I wrote in my notes. That they're both, they're locked in this battle, but they're just. It's like,
Which,
have you tried
by
like
the way,
staring down someone? It's like that.
by
There's
the
no
way,
real. Sorry, yeah.
it's a really shitty idea to try to have a battle of will with a guy whose reputation is like I wrote an endless suicide note. I'm
Yeah,
still
I
writing
mean,
it.
yeah, isn't like Osirk like the point is Osirk is such a huge prick that Gothos is forced to behave like him in order to like
What?
get him on the same. Osirk? You think Osirk is a
What?
nice guy?
I think he's a misunderstood guy to
Oh,
some extent.
oh my god. Okay, fine. We'll just put a pin on this and move on because yeah, I want to
I
be
think
done.
I said before. I think Erickson writes him like a break on purpose because he doesn't like the character.
This is not an Erickson book we're talking about here.
Yes, exactly. Because Osric was
Osirk is still a dick here.
Esslemont's
Is he a
character.
nice guy here?
He's not like I abandoned my son in Thirland and fucked off for like a millennium, and then when my son came back, I scolded him. Like come the fuck on!
See,
Like he appears in Midnight Tides. You see like the three sisters like dragging
listen,
their like Sultana to
listen.
like, and they're like, hello.
Listen, even Esslemont hates him. Do you agree or
No,
not?
no, 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 no.
Okay, fine. So,
No, I don't think Esslemont hates. I think Esslemont really does not. I think Esslemont is like grudgingly admiring an Amander, and it's like, but guys, Osric is right there. Come on, come the fuck on, like come on, come on, not bad, guys. And it reflects on how he writes Osric because Osric like keeps thinking about, okay, well, no one has ever talked to me like this way, well, except for an Amander and Galadan and Triss. But like these two are Zathanai, and like Gothos isn't, and he's a prick. Grudgingly respects an Amander. In a way which, by the way, an Amander does not do for a Cirque. Like an Amander has absolutely no time for a Cirque, and it shows.
yeah,
And it's just like, well, okay, but that's not very nice.
are you like claiming that you dislike Anomander Rake also?
Okay, fuck off, moron. Come on.
What?
Come
It's a
on.
genuine question.
You're
I don't know.
okay.
You're like a new person to me today.
You're paraphrasing all the time. No,
I'm
yeah,
asking
no,
you a
you hate
question.
Tavor. You hate Gothos. You hate. I
That's
don't hate these characters.
just tell me about Rake.
No, I don't dislike an Amanda Rake. I don't dislike Rake. I think he's a shit father, like Osric. But that's kind of
Yeah, go on.
that's kind of all the bad things I have to say about Rake. And Osric isn't much better a father either, judging by how his children fared in the last book.
You know what? Do you know how reptiles take care of their babies? They give
No,
birth and fuck off. That's it. So why do you expect the ties to behave like humans?
oh, I'm
They're
so
born
sorry.
and that's it. They're out into the world. And Rake at least
Right.
took them to his brother and left them on an island and stuff.
How very
Osset took
nice.
him familiar shopping. So I don't know. That's more than you can expect from TM blooded Teist. What more do you want them to do?
Okay, sure. Anyway, Osric's plot in this book basically ties directly into what's going on with the Theist Leosin in the Book of the Fallen.
Okay. Yeah, that I'm curious to learn because
Because a big question in the Book of the Fallen is like, where the fuck is Osric? Where's the fuck Leo? Where's Lorik? Well, here's Osric in the dead house, dissembling with Gothos for like days
yeah.
because
You know what?
Gothos is not gonna
At
budge.
at some point they're like brushing cobwebs, isn't it? They've been sitting for so
It's like
long.
they don't like it's weird,
Yeah.
It's clear there's a mutual dislike.
Yeah.
It's clear that Gothos knows more than he's saying.
Hmm.
It's clear that Gothos wants something out of a Cirque that would only really benefit Osirk, but he wants to humble him into doing it. He doesn't want to say, okay, this is what you should do. No, he's like, Osirk at some point says, I have demanded nothing of others that I have not demanded of myself. And then Gothos replies, well, yeah, but you've not demanded anything of yourself.
Yeah.
So by definition,
Are we?
and then Osirk loses shit, almost like, oh, I'm just gonna fuck off and leave. But I need this prick to tell me something.
Yeah.
So it's it's a confusing chapter, and it's one of those things that people don't really get on a first read. I think it's a fine storyline. I think if you get past how fucking annoying Gothos is at some point,
He's not annoying, please.
how is he not annoying? It's his whole thing to be annoying in this book.
That's the whole point of it. Isn't that funny when someone
Yes.
says, I'm going to annoy you and then come and annoy you? It's so funny. It's so, I don't know. I find it fun.
You have a weird sense of humor in this case. I empathize with Osirk. I would honestly hate finding myself in that position. That's the only reason
The
I
thing
empathize.
is, I would do exactly the same thing with, somebody like my sister or my cousin or somebody who wants something from me. This is exactly how I would behave with them.
Maybe
I'm a prick in real life, probably. Yeah, but yeah.
Maybe you should take lessons from the dragon because, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Right? Are you not annoying to people in real life for fun? Don't you annoy people for
No,
fun?
not
No?
often. Not to the degree that Gothos does.
It's the degree is different, yes, but the point is to annoy people, isn't it? For fun?
God damn, what are you people? No, but okay, yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna disagree with you on this point. It's fine. Yeah, I guess you can annoy people for fun and then take pleasure when a fictional character
Yeah, I mean,
does it
it's
to another
very
fictional
understandable.
character.
Like what this fellow is trying to do. I don't know. Okay, yeah, yeah. Let's move on.
Anyhow,
Are
yeah, we'll
we
move
like
on. So we talk about this one.
rambling a lot in this episode? Do you have any idea
We're
why?
rambling a lot about Berserk because we can't budge. Like neither of us can leave, and we need something from one another, but we can't tell what it is.
Um, what are we going to talk about next?
We can talk about Celeste, I guess, and there's not much of Celeste yet, unfortunately.
So yeah, I said Celeste is a manifestation of the cripple god, and then you replied something like,
And I shrugged.
no. You said something
And then
like,
I
oh,
said,
this
like,
is just
I
a
first shrugged. I'm
6-year-old
like, yeah.
jade-skinned girl who showed up just after they rescued this piece from the Dolmens, and yeah, it has to be a coincidence, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, maybe a
Okay, maybe
coincidence.
sometimes I would annoy people for fun. Maybe. I'm willing to concede that point. But sometimes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Celeste is pretty obviously like a manifestation of the crippled god.
Do you
She's one
realize
of the.
saying name also means the same thing? Light, like starlight and
Mhm.
Celeste. They're all named Light, but different names for
Yes.
light. And Osirk is doing something with light. So I don't know.
We'll touch upon this again later.
Is it?
in a
Oh,
bit.
I'm happy. I'm happy to know that. Yeah.
Anyway, so there is this Merc in Waro, Merc, who finds Celeste in the forest of Headliner, and then gets jumped by something, and Celeste like stamps her foot down, and the whole forest explodes or something.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah.
So whatever fragment this is, it's vastly different from the fragment we've seen thus far. And
Yeah.
there's the lady and whatever manifests from that. There's the heart of Kaminsod. There's the whatever was chained the dolmens, which may or may not have been Celeste originally, which is cruel as fuck if you think about it. But yeah, overall, it's like Celeste is a much more approachable, more likable, more understandable, more likable, more lovable, more humane, I suppose. Less about suffering and pain and more like innocent and trying to discover the world. And it's not clear who gave her this name.
She says
I
somebody
assume
found her and gave her the name. I'm assuming that
assume it was
Shadow Throne.
Edgewalker
Edgewalker.
or
Okay.
Shadow Throne.
Okay.
Because
But
Shadow Throne says
usually
she
it's,
wouldn't go
it's
there otherwise.
Uncle Cotillion. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, Celeste's a thing. There's there's very obviously the influence of the crippled god in this book because there's like umpteen mentions of like the Visitor or the Scimitar or the Jade Banner or whatever. Which yeah, so she hasn't appeared very much yet, so we can't talk about her. Shit, sorry.
no problem.
We can't talk about her too much. So that moves on to oh boy. Since you have a penchant for particularly since you mentioned earlier
Yeah.
that I have a penchant for liking blue ladies.
I did not mention that. I'm sorry.
I think
Let's be
I think
truthful here. Yeah.
I think you have a penchant for liking philosopher, warriors, and poets and stuff. So,
How dare you turn this around?
do you want to talk to me about Jatal? Do you
Fine,
want to talk
let's
to me
talk
about
about
Jatal?
Jatal. Yeah, Prince Jatal. I like reading stories of prince and princesses and stuff like that. So, but so far Jatal has not said a single poem. He's just been called a poet at one point, which it's not enough.
I mean, he mostly recites, right, from another book.
He's just reading something. I mean, anyone can read a book. So,
Jesus Christ, fine, fine.
oh my God, you know what? You want me to say nothing bad about Jatal? Fine, I'll not say anything.
No, please go on. Say bad things about Jatal because he didn't recite a poem yet of his own
I
creation.
mean, don't call him a poet yet because he's not written poetry. He's
Okay,
just
fine.
reading
He's a
poem
warrior, a scholar, and a philosopher,
and very, very horny. Yeah, sorry.
and very, very horny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun because this his whole story, it was making me think because he has a very rigid society where he has to like keep up with being the youngest or the least son of the least concubine, isn't it? I think that's his title.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it felt somewhat. He is also trapped in his sort of role of trying to be like he keeps thinking, isn't it? Is she really attracted to him as a person, or is she like she knows that he's one of the weakest in the family, and so she's trying to take advantage of him, or you know she thinks he's the strongest, and that's why she's trying to like get with him. So it could be either way, and he's not sure, and it shows it's very nice, it's very it's so are you laughing? No.
Uh,
Yeah, it's very understandable, and it makes me feel bad for this guy because he's quite young and he's not sure how to navigate this, and it's nice. Jatal was a nice character to read. It's sort of like he has this image of how he has to behave as a man, and to uphold his family name, uphold his title of a prince and all that. So what is that? Yeah. No.
no, yeah, continue. No, I'm not. I don't have anything to say. Carry on.
And yeah, it's nice to see the contrast between him and Princess Andani, whatever, because
Mm-hmm.
she is a action type of person who takes action and then thinks about the consequences. But he is someone who weighs every option before acting. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
nice contrast between them, and it's nice. It's nice to see their chemistry and yeah, her ambitions. She's extremely ambitious, which sort of scares him. So so I don't know where they're heading. I think last scene they were all going towards. They just took over Isanapura, and they're going to
Yeah.
Andani. What Pura? What is the other one? The other capital?
Hang on.
Some other Pura. Pura is like a nice. It's names for many cities in India. Do you know? Like
Sanditipura.
Yashwanthpura
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah. Mm.
Right.
So that's the plan. They're planning to march to another capital because apparently they did a very good job here. I mean, come on, they just barely escaped. They just hardly escaped, because Calor is doing something. He's with them, but he's not actually with them. And his Aegon priests are in the background who are trying to foment war with the Thaumaturgs and the Adwami people for their advantage. And these guys are, I mean, at least Jatal is the one who is thinking about all these other options and wondering if people are like taking advantage of them, and the others just seem to be rushing headlong into fighting wars and trying to take the capital and all that. Kalor is, I think, he's just trying to destabilize the area and take over the whole place. Maybe that's his plan, but I'm not sure. So, is there anything about the Jatal and any storyline which I missed? Oh, I like Skarza. Skarza is a fun character to read. You said he's like Mapo Trell.
He's half Trell. Yes.
Half Trell. Yeah, he's fun. He's a funny character.
Yeah. When Jatal asks him where he came from, he's like, "From my mother's womb, bless her, like bound to his possum or something." Like, yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. So you mentioned Calor. I'm not going. Well, okay, fine. I'm gonna drop it. Yeah. Okay. The world leader's Calor. Fine. It's only
I
the
have
biggest
not
reveal in the
written
world.
war leader in any of my notes. I know this is Calor from, his mail reaching up to his ankle. There's only one character in the entire Malazan universe who does this with gray armor, which reaches up to his
I
ankles.
guess. I guess it was Calor in like chapter 3 because it was like there was mention of like a bastard sword,
Yeah.
and
Do you
only
know what is
Calor
a
gets
bastard sword?
described.
Tell me what is a bastard sword.
It's a mix between like a longsword and a two-handed longsword, but not quite.
It's a one and a half sword. because up to
Yes.
I think the first two chapters mention it as a 1.5 grip sword or something, and then it starts calling it a bastard sword. But
Hmm.
I knew it. I knew. I see gray armor. I see male reaching up to his legs. I didn't know that this is Caleb. So
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the biggest reveal in the world. Like, oh my god, so shocking. No, because
do you have to like
the very
put
first.
it down just because I got it? Really?
No, no, no. I'm not. I mean, to be fair, I got it very late compared to you, so it's fine. Like, but what I
And
mean is like
the Kel war name, I thought that was something to do with like Kellenwood or something, and that's why Kaller found it funny. But it's a variation of Kaller, like Kaller becomes Kel war or something. Yeah, I got it late.
so. Like the first thing the war leader says upon coming to Jakaruku is like, well, there is no like horns blaring, no earthquakes,
Yeah,
no volcanoes, no end of the world.
yeah,
Well, Skarza, I guess we're just here,
yeah.
which is so incredibly Calor. Like it's such a Calor thing to say. Like, yeah, well, you guys thought all these things about me, but no, no, I'm just here, just chilling.
He even has this
And
Jetal. Each time he
mhm.
sees Kaller getting angry, we get a nice description of him trying to control his anger and trying to speak in a normal tone and stuff like that. It's very interesting to see Kaller behaving, trying to behave with all these other fellows.
Mhm. And like, even though he quite obviously holds some of them in contempt, right? He does seem to kind of respect Jatal and Adani. Like, he says, yeah, I mean, I was going to be burdened with an oldborn anyway, so might as well be you.
Do you think that is?
Skarza has taken a liking.
Do you think
Yes.
that looks like he's giving them respect, or he's just mocking them some more?
I think respect for Calor is like considering them as human beings, not so much, you know.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Kaller is not one of the guys you dislike.
I don't like Calor. I
Oh,
think he is fascinating. I think he's a very interesting character. I think he is very cool. I think he's very tragic, but I also think like Gothos is a bit of a, like the kind of guy I would really fucking hate to hang around with.
fine. Yeah, yeah.
But I don't hate Calor in the same way as the other people because oh my god, he killed Whiskey Track and all that shit. So no, it's not like I've written a few pieces on Calor about why I think he's fine, but that is a story for a whole another time. But yeah, I think in a way he accords them respect, but not so much to like not the kind of respect he accorded to people like Brood or Rake, for instance, or fuck even Whiskey Jack. He even respected Whiskey Jack to some degree because the guy was honorable and Cal respects that. Or Spinnock. Jatal is just a burden he has to endure, and well, he is a learned noble. He's a diplomat. He's cunning. He's intelligent, and he's not a pain in the ass. So for Calor, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
But also, what bears reminding is that Calor is the type of guy that said at some point that he could never love enough, and that still stings. So, you know,
Is he going to meet somebody here in this book? I don't think so. No.
we'll see.
What? No, he's not going to meet anyone. He's too old.
And also, there's the thaumaturgs, which were like basically responsible for the fall.
Yeah, they were the ones who
So,
called down the cripple god, isn't it? But they're doing
so
quite fine. They're like they don't even care that the cripple god is here in this world, and it's like they've consciously forgotten about the rest of it, isn't it?
yeah, because they're dumb.
They're not dumb.
They're dumb. They're very, very self-centered. Is what they are.
They're self-centered. They're not dumb. It's not affecting them, so they're not bothered about it. That's how I see it. Okay, let's go to
Which
the
is dumb.
fine.
I mean, if the visitor actually comes down, they're all gonna be toast anyways. Maybe it should affect you. Maybe you should worry about it. But well, whatever. Who am I to disagree? But yeah, no. You were saying something, and I cut you out in the middle.
No, I was just saying that maybe it's time we got back to Singh and Hanu and the
Sure.
whole, I don't know, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Thailand type of country we are seeing here.
Yes. I mean, you're much more acquainted with that stuff than I
I have
am.
not been to any of those countries. I'm just saying that they eat
I
rice, they
have
eat
never
fish.
left my country before, so you know,
I've only been to Sri Lanka, so we are all landlocked people here.
closer than I am.
So yeah, uh, see, the things I like, the things I really like is all this description of the food they eat with all the rice and the fish and stuff like that. Because that's such a standard thing here in all the coastal areas. This is what people eat. This is what And oh, do you know that the serving food on the banana leaf? Do you remember that scene? She
Hmm.
serves rice on the leaf for her mother and herself. That's a real thing. Do you know that? Are you aware of it?
I guessed you guys brought it up a lot, so I guessed it was a real thing.
Sorry, yeah, you guys.
You and Ro brought it up a lot, so I
Oh,
guessed it was a
okay.
real thing. But
Yeah,
I hadn't heard of it before.
yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it's the thing even now. Like if you go to weddings and all, it's that's how they serve food in most places. Yeah, like you have tables and then they place a huge banana leaf. You wash it and then they serve
Mm.
rice on it. I'll send photos to you later on.
Right. Okay. Sure.
So that's one thing. And um, the, and this type of there is a state in south called Kerala which has this type of weather. It's humid all day, and then it suddenly rains, and then it's again back to humid and hot. So that's how it is here, isn't it? Like saying actually has an umbrella everywhere she goes. That's how you have to
Mm.
live when you go to Kerala. You have to have an umbrella either for the sun or for the rain. It's either one of those. It's not going to be like pleasant, temperate weather, and you can just walk around in the road just like that. It's never going to happen. So those are the things which seemed extremely familiar to me. And what else? What else? There is nothing about their clothes, I think, which would have been interesting. But oh, the families. I liked all the family descriptions. When she comes back to her village, her mother has gone to her brother's sister's wife's sister or something like that. That is so funny and that is so relatable. Like in English you just say cousin, right? You just say cousin, you just say uncle, but we have specific terms for all these specific relatives. Like my mother's, my grandfather's brother's son will be called something else for me. I wouldn't just call him an uncle. There are like different types of uncles and different types of aunts. So I was thinking
Right.
of those things, and that's how it is, isn't it? Like a close knit community, which is basically a single family. They just have different houses, but more or less the whole village is like one family. They all belong to one single. They can all trace their relations with each other. So that was very interesting for me, and I really liked it. And if you get a chance to talk to Cam, I want to ask him like how much research did he do, and how much of this he picked up just by living in those countries. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Sure.
Right. So let's go to the book. What did you think of saying?
So, there is a very obvious contrast to be made here, because you pointed out before, Blood and Bone is very much centered on light. There's like saying, which means light. There's Celesti, which means light. There's a Cirque in this book. Lorik is in the Dramatis Personae. Uh, Triss is the mistress of the Thyr Warren. Sour uses Thyr. Stuff like that. There's a lot of like light aspected things. There's like the temples of light, the priestesses of light. Contrast this to Overthrow the Throne, which had Moonspawn, which was dark, which had Mother Dark, which had Draconis, which had the King of Dark, which had
The
Orchid, who
spawns.
is
Yeah.
very clearly, well, she's Andy. She is sort of a priestess because she knows some invocations. She knows some, like basically the contrast between light and dark in these two books is really interesting continuity.
Okay. Yeah.
Now you may think that book 6 has shadow, but no, unfortunately it doesn't. Um, but yeah, there is this very interesting contrast, and it's interesting that like Sang never really thinks about it, but it's mentioned at some point that she spends more time with like the dead than the living. Like she
Yeah.
spends more
Yeah.
time among the Nakta than her relatives. Like, oh yeah, you're right. Hang on. So she is somewhat cast out from
Rather than cast
her.
out, she's like withdrawn. She withdraws
She's
herself
not so
from.
much cast out. She's not cast out. I think they mentioned because like she keeps away the Nakta, so no one like the ghosts don't harass them as much because of saying.
Yeah.
Else they would be definitely cast out. There's also her mother, which is very adamant about like the old faith and all that stuff. Which again, I assume for you would be much more relevant. Old
What?
cults and old faiths and stuff. No, really,
No.
no. Okay.
What do you mean? Like, can you explain? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Uh, never mind.
Like the evolution of religion, something like that.
Suppose no.
No, in the sense, I don't know. Like I don't know, my grandparents and stuff. They pray to different gods. Like their important gods were different from what the mainstream Hindu gods are. Like
Right.
they had all this village. I don't know what you would call them, like village gods, where they would light a cigar and pour a brandy or something. A drink of yeah, Yeah, that's how they used to pray. And there were like obviously like animal sacrifices and all, which is not done anymore. Now it's extremely,
Hmm.
it's vegetarian days, like festival days. You don't eat meat, you don't cook meat in the house and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Right, but
Is that a,
yeah,
is
okay.
that relevant here?
No, no. Sure. The other thing I think you mentioned is that there's a lot of like talk about ancestors
Yeah,
throughout
spirits
the
of my
stuff,
ancestors. Yeah.
age of my ancestors. So, ancestor reverence and ancestor worship was not anymore, a pretty big part of most of Mediterranean and European civilization prior to the upcoming of Christianity. For instance, in Greece, a lot of basically every single individual had their name and their father's name to like identify them. So you'd have Guy name and then his father's name with like an additive to make a suffix to make sure that like this guy whose father is that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way to earn like I don't know, street cred or reputation or stuff like that is to claim ancestry of some famous old person. And there were the reason one of the reasons people were tied to their land, why civilizations grew around those lands. For instance, I don't know if you know this, but like ancient Greece had like a lot of city states, like 100 different city states, which were basically because, well, your parents lived in this land, and then their parents lived in this land, and their parents lived in, and like they weren't so much nomadic because when the tribe settled down, it was almost sacrilegious to leave the land of your ancestors.
Okay.
And so, to me, this is very familiar, shall we say. Then Christianity came and most of that stuff disappeared, but obviously we don't have to do such stuff here. And so, ancestral reverence is a very, I think, well, not a very big part, but it's an interesting part of tribal societies and stuff, which is actually highlighted in an epigraph. I think it's chapter, I don't know, 7, 8, doesn't matter, which goes something like about how the citizens of Jakaluku wouldn't sell their old stuff, like their
Yeah. Yeah.
ancestor stuff, because people were happy when they used it and they wouldn't be,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really interesting because basically every epigraph is through a colonial perspective, right? Because there's like some traveler from seven cities, Rukontali, who came to Jakaluku and now is recounting their, tales from a distant exotic land or some stuff. But to them, it's just second nature, right? It's just like, yeah, of course, our ancestors are literally right there. They're like ghosts that physically exist and we can see them, we can interact with them. So to them, it's natural. To an outsider, to a foreigner, to an explorer, God forbid, uh, it must seem super weird, super odd. And I think that's really interesting, right? I think it's sort of explored in like Seven Cities to some degree, but Seven Cities is like the only setting in Book of the Fallen that really explores this, and the Rivi to some extent have this, but here and in Corel, and to some extent even in Stratum, less so in Stratum, but like even in Corel we have like the tribals. Here we have ancestral worship. In OST we also have the Rivi and like the Morans. We have a lot more of these tight-knit tribal societies that have grown around like ancestral worship, to whom their ancestors are the most important thing, not like some common religion, like the light or whatever, which saying preaches, or the demon king or Odara or whatever. No, it's like my grandparents who were literally like the next den over as ghosts.
Yeah.
To me, because I'm sort of the outsider in this analogy, it's fascinating.
The more I'm reading this book, I feel the theme, as such, for this book at least, is like, family. Because
Yeah, I
saying
mean, yeah.
is, do you remember her choice with Hanu when she's hanging by the vine and holding him in one arm and she has to make a decision? It was like
Mhm.
quite obvious that she has to let him go. He's unconscious, he's probably dead. Let him go and climb the vine and, escape from this underground river. She doesn't do that, right? She holds on to him. It's very sweet, and it was an unexpected scene. And the other thing is, whenever Shimmer talks about Skinner with Kaz, he says we can't really be rid of him because they're family. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Does this continue? I hope this theme continues because
I mentioned ancestral worship and stuff because, well, one of the themes is in the title, blood and bone, our blood, our bones.
Okay.
The aforementioned ancestral worship of like this land belonged to our ancestors, so of course we're gonna stay here. So yeah, it's like family is obviously a big thing because for fuck's sake, they avowed call their dead the brethren, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like the familial ties are pretty obvious. Um, Skinner is viewed as like a pest by the natives, by like Ratana, but the Kalas is like a wayward son, right? He's like
yeah, yeah,
it's odd, and a lot of what he says to Skinner, the Shimmer at the end in chapter 7, about like the whole philosophical ramblings about like what separates us from animals,
yeah.
and it's like well, we follow society, we follow hierarchy, and then Shimmer responds like, yeah, like sheep. Well, actually, no, wolf society is much more
Complicated.
organized. They're
Yeah,
much more complicated. They're hierarchical. Nothing is worse for a wolf to like be cast out from the pack.
yeah,
And there's a very obvious allegory to Skinner there, right?
yeah,
The disavowed must be feeling alone because, well, if Skinner falls, if Skinner disappears, if Skinner, what if Skinner like decides to stay? Like he goes to Ardata and says, like, "Yeah, hi, I'm back. I want to stay here." What are like Mara or Petal to do? Like
yeah,
it's very strange. And also, Cal's dead, so they don't have Cal either, which is like a big aspect of what made
yeah,
disavow
yeah.
pretty formidable. So, oh boy.
I think we should start winding up. I mean, we're done talking all the main points. I think there's plenty of stuff for the second part, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess we haven't really talked about the moon and stuff, but it's
Old
not really
Man Moon?
important.
I don't know. Was it like important in the long term? It was a nice, fun
It's
scene.
more like it's more like world building, I think.
Yeah. It made me look up, like, fan art for depictions of sun as a female and moon as a man. There are some fun fan art for that. Not Malazan related, but in general, they're nice.
Hmm.
Like, so,
It's
shall
interesting
we?
because side note, yeah, before you continue, in Greek mythology, because there's mention like by Moon himself that like in ancient times, like very ancient time before, it was believed that the sun is like a female and stuff. In Greek mythology, as far as I can recall, the sun was male and the moon was for the most part depicted as female.
Mhm.
Trying to recall if in like earlier depictions it was the opposite, because there were some matriarchal societies in Greece that
There is
arose.
one
Like,
word in, like, for kids when we say moon, we say like Chanda Mama, which means like moon uncle or something. So moon is a man, maybe in our old in one part of our language. But sun is usually like it's a male god. Moon, I'm not sure if it's even a goddess, but sun is a male god.
right,
Yeah,
fascinating. To be fair, I do think Moon's argument about why the moon should be male and the sun should be female is actually fairly interesting.
the thing which makes me think that people call the moon as a female is probably because of periods, is what I think. Because the 28, no, seriously, the 28-day lunar cycle correlates with the usual periods cycle. So I think that seems quite obvious to me,
The
but
more you know.
it's just my theory.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to think of like different mythologies and how they depict moons, but for the most part, yeah, moon is female and sun is male.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Odd.
we'll keep that for the next one.
Anyhow, yeah, we probably should wrap up because we talked a lot about Osirk and his rambling. We talked about a lot.
Gothos.
We didn't talk a whole lot about saying it, fortunately.
That's
Well,
fine.
there's more to talk about later
Sure.
when we get to the last bits. So
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the book. First and foremost, I hope you're enjoying the book.
I am enjoying the book. Yeah, it's much better than Orbs of the Throne. Way, way, way better than that. And I'm very happy to see these characters, all of them whom I like.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward. I don't know. I'm in a hurry to like finish the next 8 chapters as quickly as possible
Right,
because
right,
I want to see where this is going. Yeah.
of course.
Okay.
No,
Cool.
yeah. So I guess we'll see you then when we finish the next 8 chapters.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, Lee.
Thank you, Mora. This has been Lee. That has been Mora. We have been Smileys, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Good night. Bye.
Bye.